Well, hello. Welcome to JW Outdoors. We've just exited Highway 2. We're on Foss River Road. We're trying to get to Tonga Ridge Trail, which leads up to Mount Sawyer, but you can also double back, or maybe it's the completely different trail, but you can go down to Deception Creek and proceed to the PCT. But this is a pretty high road that leads to it, and pretty high trailhead, so we'll see how much snow's left. Well, there was an emergency veterinary situation with my partner last night, so I didn't get anything packed up and ready to go, and everything was ready to go, I want to say about noon. I had to start this morning, so we're going to just go for the shortest hike, a little overnight, and just scout around and see how deep the snow is down here. It's about the only way to salvage half a day into an overnight. We made our way to Necklace Valley. We had to come down that road. We made it up to about 3,800 feet, and just like it said in the last review, there was snow all of a sudden. Looks like, according to that sign, we're 7 miles from Jade Lake, so we're not making it far. Looks like the campsites are about 4.6 miles. I've been to this place before and actually recorded a video, but the audio was terrible, so in lieu of the events that have taken place today, looks like we'll be recording this one here. Looks like we gain around 750 feet across that nearly 5 miles. So it's gonna be some work, but not too terribly hard. Well, the last time I was here was November. It seemed like there was a little bit of frost on one of the boardwalks up here, and I slipped, went ahead and got out my micro spikes. One of the reasons I'm doing this trail today is I couldn't find those micro spikes. I'm gonna have to test out some yak tracks or something. I don't know, I think I had them strapped to my pack at some point, and maybe took them off to get something in, or put something in my bag, something like that, and just left them sitting there. It's probably what I did, but who knows. Like, I remember this is that campsite that is not very desirable. I guess you can kind of see down there by the river, but I think it's just mostly for people that get in late, like me, and need a place to stay. It's one of the closest to the car on all the trails I go. Well, we've made it to Burn Creek as I try to yell over the top. It's really this is the reason you need those micro spikes in the winter, is that one doesn't have handrails, and even wet, that thing's kind of slippery. Well, the West Fork Foss Trail had way more cars because it's only about a mile's hike and not even that much elevation gain to a subalpine lake called Trout Lake, where you can have a fire. Almost every other alpine lake in the region you can't have a fire at, so it's an easy hike, great views, and then it connects you to the rest. So yeah, that's a really popular trail. It's kind of rutted on the road, but that's why there was 5 cars there and only 1 here. Well, no sign of that guy yet. We've made it to the Alpine Lakes Wilderness part of the journey, and we're leaving the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest. You kind of do this at almost every one of the trails, and there's just different purposes for the land. But I think it's the USDA, the Forest Service. Isn't that the? I don't know. I'll have to look it up in the next sign I see. Well, the winter moisture is obviously still in place. The layer of leaves and stuff. It's just really, the air's really saturated. It's just really hard to keep from soaking with sweat. That's the only reason I keep stopping. To keep sweat from running down my face and making me look terrible. Try to keep a steady pace. I don't think it'll be a whole lot longer. You know, it is pretty warm. The weather's absolutely perfect. Like, this is the nicest weather I've ever had for any occasion, much less a hike. The rivers, at least these feeder creeks, are a lot deeper because the snow's melting with such fury that, all right, let's try to get, there we go, across those, fairly easy. I'm glad they're full because I'm just drinking water like crazy. I don't remember this thing being nearly this full of water last time. We're getting onto the boardwalks that I slipped on last time. This means we're getting close to the campsites. A lot more moisture this time. Wow, this is the very first blowdown I've come across that's of any size, but this one is pretty big. Yeah, it looks like trail crews have been cleaning up everything else. This is the first thing that's been an actual obstacle so far. Looks like we made it to the same campsite that I'd stayed at before, and it's completely free, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. And there's only one other car down there, and that person may be on way up where the snow is and have all the correct equipment, but as far as I'm concerned, this is 4.9 miles, is really not that far. It was a little bit of up and down, but I'm right by the river. It looks like I've got, I don't know, a few more hours of sunlight left, so I'll get camp set up and probably have a step 2. Well, step 2s today are by Fremont Brewing. This is Skykomish. I think they make the Seattle Kraken beer, but this is also, I think it's something they made before, but it's really good beer, so try it out. One of the things that I like about being by the river down here, oh, if you can use it, oh, whoa, like a refrigerator. Not quite as cold as the refrigerator, but close. That's snow melt. Well, it's finally starting to get dark, and it's actually starting to get kind of chilly. I'm glad I brought all that extra winter stuff, because I bet it's going to get down into the low 30s tonight, and it will be nice to have it. But I'm about to have, I think, a chicken pot pie, and I think I'm going to turn in for the evening. This has been an exquisite night at the Necklace Valley Trail. Well, good morning. I'm going to grab a little bit of coffee and do the 5 miles to get out of here. I think I've got about 30 minutes of cleanup. I kept everything relatively packed up pretty well. On these short day hikes with a sleep in the middle, I try to keep them short. But I'm going to have a little coffee, wake up a little bit, and get out of here. Well, luckily the sun's poking through. This means I can peel off this outer layer here and just start hiking out of here. This is the first time I've never really had to dry the rain fly out. The ground's still plenty wet, but nothing else is. So it's gonna be a pleasant hike out. Not gonna have to worry about sweating. Might even put my hair in the ponytail before I leave. I'll have to start the GPS in a minute. We have 4.9 miles of easy trekking to go. It's a little bit of up and down. It's mostly walk in the woods. You're kind of by the water. Plenty of places to get water. I'm kind of glad the sun came out. One of the other reasons I was waiting is to make sure there was no frost on these log walks, which are pretty slippery for a guy with no micro spikes. Well, that blowdown, I think they just left there to give you the sense this isn't just a long stroll, but that's about the most difficult thing I've come across so far. That and those little frogs. When you're out in the sun, it's straight up hot. It's probably already 80 degrees. Under the cover of the forest, it's much nicer, and you can still feel some of the snow chilled air, but in the sun, it's proper warm. Well, if you take a look at this fairly tall tree that's fallen over, it's a new growth tree, but see how tall that tree is versus down to the rock is only 2 or 3 feet. They spread their roots out really wide and cannot penetrate the rocks and basically only grow out of the forest cover. So snow and wind blows them over pretty easy. Well, there was no frost on anything because it's really warm today. That's why I was stopping there, take a sweat break. Going back to summer protocol, the next one, at least low like this, we'll be able to wear shorts maybe, at least for a day hike. Might be kind of chilly at night, but yeah, it's definitely summertime. We're getting there. I'm sure we'll have our dreaded January. Hopefully it'll bring a little moisture. Keep fire season away, but right now this is something. I bet this weekend is gonna be crazy here. Well, that overlit scenery back there is about knee-deep marshy lake called Lake Alturas. I don't even think it had water in it when I was here last time, but it might have, and I just might not remember. But its clearest contribution to the area is mosquitoes, so be aware of that as you go by. With it being almost 80 degrees right now, I can't believe I haven't seen any other hikers. I've been looking down for the tracks of that other person that clearly had a dog with them, but I haven't seen any trace of them, so they might have gone further up. They might actually have snow equipment, and or they might have passed by and I didn't see them. That's happened before too. Well, if that doesn't remind you to look around your baseboards for termite frass, nothing will. Wow. Well, passing back into the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest means we're getting pretty close to the car. The only thing about today, again, is it's really warm. It's really nice. I swear I can hear a motor running, like a chainsaw or a mower. Maybe a boat, I don't know. I can hear something. Well, another thing about these forests is, especially now it gets warm like this, the bees will start chasing you around. There's these big bees that look kind of like bumblebees that if you stop, take a drink, they'll start flying in circles around you. You gotta walk for a good 5 minutes before they'll leave you alone. There are a good number of them at Baker Lake too. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of wildlife out here. Looks like the trail might have went that way at one point, but the 40 or 50 giant logs across there might have changed the path. Always a fun log walk right there with no handrails on it. The river was pretty. There's a cool breeze coming down there too. Well, there's not even much of a view in this little campsite. I came down here and looked. But I guess. There's not even a fire ring, so this really is kind of a last resort thing. Well, it's pretty impromptu, last minute overnight, last minute for sure at Necklace Valley Trail. It was a good night for solitude. I don't think I saw another person. About 10 miles total of hiking. You can go down the road to Westport Foss and see the Alpine lakes there, but if you keep going down this trail, you'll run into lakes too. But just for today, we're heading back. It was awesome. From JW Outdoors, thank you for watching. Well, it was only a couple of more miles to Jade Lake, but I think it's 2,000 feet, and then only 4 more to Opal Lake. We'll try to get that next time when I have more than about 12 straight hours to use.